Pleasant day, HR students. This is Dr. Raisa Misi Narciso, your subject teacher for this subject, Bahr 312, Special Topics in Human Resource Management. So at this level, I am expecting that you have gained sufficient knowledge of your past professional subject, as this subject is a sort of recall of all those major courses that were tackled in the past 2 years of learning here in the institution. It is important to rely on your stock knowledge and review also the basics in human resource management. And at this point, I will be discussing to you Big Picture A, Unit Learning Outcome A, as it aims to discuss the concept, origin, and development of human resource management. But of course, kailangan natin i-review ang mga basic terms that we shall be discussing in this unit. Starting with recalling the classification of generations, and I know familiar na kayo nito, so let's begin with silent generation. So this generation is the so-called veterans who entered the workforce in the 1950s and early 1960s. They are known to be loyal to the organization. Next is the baby boomers, who were born after the Second World War when the economy was booming, or as the people who never experienced the hardship of the war days. Generation X, who were born between 1960 and 1979, before the advent of the information age, are concerned about work or life issues. And Generation Y is a person who holds a dominant position within this field and is able to exercise high degree of control or influence over others. A person who sets direction, builds an inspiring vision, and creates something new. A person who understands why he is doing something and be clear about his own values and goals when applying his influential skills. The human resource management is the effective use of organizations' human resources to improve its performance. And lastly is the human capital. So the people in the organization with different values, aspirations, cultural and family background, education, attitudes, and temper. So today's business environment may be the first to include 5 different generations working side by side toward shared economic and commercial goals. In the HR perspective, it can be a headache, especially when facing conflict inside a company. Kasi iba-iba ang mga behavior, perception, skills, commitment, etc. of the 5 generation. So for business workers and executives, managing multiple generations in the workplace may not be as easy as it sounds. Each defined generation can have different expectations, communication styles, and perspectives. Nevertheless, adopting a management strategy that addresses the distinctive characteristics of different generations in the workplace can allow employers to harness the respective strengths of their workforce and better compete in the marketplace. Bridging the generational gap in the workplace doesn't have to be a difficult task. But let us discuss the challenges of managing human resources today and learn how to manage employees who are baby boomers, millennials, and others beyond. So first challenge is the changing employee expectations. Today's workforce comprised of several generations, each with a different set of values, aspirations, and unique perspectives and attitude towards work. So after spending years at home during this crisis, workers have never been more in touch with what they want from their work and workplace. So they have new and increased expectations of their employers and workplaces, desiring a dramatically different and better experience than the one they left. So let us explore 3 things employees need now: safety, belonging, and productivity. So safety. For people to feel comfortable returning to the office, they need to both be safe and feel safe. So they are pandemic aware, and people in every country rate a new set of safety issues as their top concerns about returning to the office, with a strong emphasis on mitigating the spread of disease. Air quality, the adherence to safety protocols, and general cleanliness rank among the most important safety consideration. It's clear people will need to feel confident and their workplaces are safe, and to trust their employees and peers are doing everything possible to keep them safe before returning. So as observed, maraming office na preferred to work in an open area where fresh air comes in and out. Unlike in an air-conditioned room as it is more vulnerable to disease and virus. So older generation are much concerned in the practice of safety protocols than of the young generation. That is why HR personnel must always ensure the practice of the precautionary measures as there are vulnerable groups working in an office. And remember, yung mga older generation usually holds top position, di ba? So it would be detrimental to their self and to the company mismo if their health and safety will be compromised because some workers are not taking it seriously. Next is people have a basic need to belongingness. The coronavirus has left people feeling extremely isolated, and the need to feel part of the community at work has never been more important. In every country, people rank connection to people and purpose among the top reasons for wanting to return to the workplace. So the workplace can be designed to help foster a sense of community, and there are three specific attributes that make a positive impact across all countries studied. First, the office has places where leaders are present and accessible. Okay. Second, there are spaces that foster social interaction and help building a sense of belongingness. Third is the workplace offers stimulating and inspiring areas that promote ideation and creative problem solving. And then the last one is productivity. People want to feel that what they do is meaningful, and this has been amplified during the crisis as organizations have needed to respond to dramatically changing business conditions. So, since the business process right now changed, the company should give the employees the means to perform their job well. For example, since online blended learning na tayo, produced contract to the Quipper para mabigyan ng official LMS ang mga students and professors of this institution. So quality education is still one of the topmost priority of institution. And para matulungan ang mga professors to provide this, tying up with Quipper is the best choice. So imagine if wala tayong Quipper ngayon. It would be very hard for the professors to check, monitor, and give exams or quizzes to the students. So yung job satisfaction ng mga employees might decline because of this. So it is also important to note the common traits for each generation in order for you to properly manage the human resources inside the company. So if the employees belongs to the silent generation, they are actually known to be loyal to the organization. Diba? Yung mga grandparents natin or yung mother and father natin, before, hindi sila mahilig talaga mag-job hopping. So usually, nasa 2 to 3 employers lang jud na sila. Pero right now, diba, usahay dili na maabtan og mga 1 year ang mga young generations karon, so magbalhin na pod og work because there are lots of business opportunities. So the silent generation are really known to be loyal in the organization. The baby boomers are aggressive and ambitious, so they are also known to be loyal to their careers also. They actually grasp for career and development also. That is why yung mga achievers under the baby boomers are really nourished by the company para ma-bring out yung best talaga, best talents and skills from them. The Generation X are concerned about work or life issues, and then the Generation Y is a high performing when it comes to loyalty. The companies they work for are the last on their list. Okay, so those are the highlights of the traits for each generation. Okay, next is the rapidly changing technology. So I am amazed sometimes by how technology is impacting the world we live in. Traditionally, HR was always viewed as a paper-intensive, non-innovative area where salary decisions are made. Tama ba? People get hired or fired and where team building sessions are organized. But behind the scenes, the industry is changing and incorporating technology at the rapid pace. Even if it wasn't designed for HR to start with, some of the problems that HR faced are the following. Automation has eliminated jobs in manufacturing, finance, sales, and marketing, and administration and human resources. That is why there is a retrenchment and massive layoff usually na nag-o-occur, especially when there are labor-saving devices that was incorporated in the company. So for example, if the company will engage into robotics, no? So mas lesser na lang yung mga human resources na kailangan nila. Need pa rin ang HR, human resources I mean. Pero kailangan siya na magbawas. It's because there are labor-saving device already. So technology has led to shorter cycle, mas mapadali ang trabaho, and it has made customers more demanding, di ba? For example, in the production of cell phones, so usually it would take 6 months or parang 1 year lang siya yung new model, and then afterwards is maano na naman siya, ma-change into brand new one, yung upgraded or updated na model niya. Okay, so companies must invest money in training and development to update their employee skills to keep pace with changing technology. So the future of any human resource team is being connected to technological development, and challenging it offers rooms for innovators inside and outside the industry to adopt new developments to create and redesign the workplace and employee experience. So for big companies, malaking tulong if merong human resource information system, or otherwise known as the HRIS, because by using this you will be able to meet the demands of your employee. So mas mapadali ang trabaho and tracing. So however, it would require a lot of cost, but anyway, it's important to conduct a cost-benefit analysis first before deciding to purchase or make this system. So another challenge is emphasis on increased productivity. So global competitiveness has spurred generation to take care of their labor cost by increasing productivity, eliminating redundant jobs or jobs which have no values. The creation of goods and services requires changing resources into goods and services. So the more efficiently we make this change, the more productive we are and the more value is added to the goods and service provided. So there are two productivity challenges that employees encountered, and these are reducing inputs while keeping output constant, diba? Or increasing output while keeping inputs constant. So with this, there is a new equation for productivity as presented by Charles Handy, stating that a half workforce paid twice as much, producing 3 times as much. Meaning, kahit maliit lang yung employees, but if they are well paid, motivated, and empowered to work in the company, they will produce 3 times than others. So next challenge is the outsourcing, new modality of employment. Outsourcing helps the organization reduce payroll and operating costs and free up resources for other purposes. So the organization relies on its human resources department for negotiations and communications with the outsourcing company for a smooth transition for the organization as well as the new team. However, some challenges includes seasonal cycle, hiring during peak season when the need for extra manpower is high, dispense services when no longer needed. Yun, challenge talaga yun. How are you going to communicate with those laid off employees? So prevailing labor law prompted some employers to resort to outsource temporary employers from labor service contractors. So instead na mag-hire ka in your organization, you would go with outsourcing na lang. Okay, so that you will not have a hard time regarding the decision on the regularization of an employee. So some of the companies is mas makita nila na mas makasave sila by having this outsourcing than personally hiring employees in the organization. So lastly is the emergent practice of hiring workforce from workers' cooperative. Okay, the next one is we have the flatter organization. So the days of multiple hierarchical levels are gone. Delayering in business organizations is the name of the game. Flatter organizations improves productivity, efficiency, and communications, and people are expected to produce more using fewer resources, and multitasking is required. In a flat structure, decision making occurs at the staff level, and it doesn't proceed from executives down to the rank and file. Employees in a flat organizational structure are given significant authority with little to no supervision. This means you don't have the expense of hiring mid-level and low-level managers. You can use that money for another important aspects of your business, such as marketing and advertising. Flat structures typically eliminate all managers except executive level managers. So you can run a leaner operation and get more out of your staff, which increases productivity relative to the number of people you deploy. So the impacts on human resource management first is HR must develop and implement policies to minimize the pain in downsizing. Since it would be a flatter organization, so there could be a organizational restructuring that might happen, and there might be some employees who will be laid off or matanggal talaga sa company. It's because they find that such position is already redundant and not necessary na. So para makasave yun, they really have to identify who should be retained in that organization. Second is those being laid off must be let go with dignity. So even though ma-laid off sila, so kailangan there should be a proper communication towards those selected employees, no? So it would be a challenge in the human resource because how can you communicate it to that specific employees nga malay off sila or part sila sa na-retrench, di ba? So it would be very hard, especially right now nga pandemic. So daghan kay mga nahitabo pod ngayon ana. So offer severance agreement or offer transitional training, outplacement assistance, or extended benefits. So some of the best practices of other companies who are affected with this retrenchment is that before nila i-lay off yung mga trabahante, they will be giving some livelihood projects or seminars or training for them, so that even though nga mawala na sila sa company, they will be given another business opportunities to venture. So tagaan po na sila og puhunan. So some of the companies will also give that aside sa ilahang pay nga ma-receive, termination pay nga ma-receive. So lastly, keep staff pacified and productive through the difficult transition. So next is the fall of the command and control manager. Barking orders to subordinates is no longer effective way of getting things done by people. Supervisors can no longer order people what to do, and the legitimate or literal power inherent in superiors is somewhat diminished. So, dati, yung pag-manage sa mga human resources follows the quote, obey first before you complain, di ba? But then, right now, hindi na siya nag-work ang ganang inana ang command and control type of manager. So many organizations portray a command and control approach to leadership. This structure has its roots in the military and is still a dominant force. That is why if someone practices that kind of style or leadership style, they are actually called military HR as part of the evolution of the human resources. So it is one where the senior manager is in command and therefore controlling employees. But the problem with command and control is this: it does not guarantee people will do what you ask. Okay? Because they feel that they are being threatened. So sa una, it could be, but right now, parang hindi na. Okay? Marami ng mga business opportunities and yung mga employees is not just relying on your company, so that is why they can freely go right now. So unlike dati na kailangan talaga nila magtiis kasi yung business opportunities is kanang employment opportunities is much lesser as compared right now. So what's more, it could be the reason people are dissatisfied and choose to leave employment. So let's take a look at the top 4 reasons people leave their job. First, not being treated with respect or dignity. Second, being prevented from making an impact of the organization. No, meron talagang ganun kasi they feel that they are being threatened in their position, so they will not give you a chance um, to voice out, like that, and not having a voice, yun. And lastly, not being rewarded with more responsibility. So command and control impedes creativity and decision making because corporate culture dictates the relationship between employee and organization. So almost everything goes through the chain of command. So at this point, we shall discuss about the concept of human resource management. So as we all know, human resource management means management of people at work. HRM is the process which binds people with organizations and helps both people and organization to achieve each other's goal. So various policies, processes, and practices are designed to help both employees and organizations to achieve their goal. And in addition, human resource management is a branch of management that deals with people at work. It is concerned with the human dimensions of management of the organizations. So as organization consists of people, therefore acquiring them, developing their skills, providing them motivation in order to attain higher goal, and ensuring that the level of commitment is maintained are the important activities. Thus, in the business sense, human resources are people who do the actual work. Organizations once viewed human resources as the costs until this concept evolved beyond the usual mantra, people is our greatest asset. And people are now treated as investors, not as an expense. So from the old notion that human resources are just a laborer in a company considered as expense and by just giving remuneration can motivate them, turns to the concept that HR is considered as an asset and capital in every organization that must be taken care of. Thus, HR shall no longer be a staff position but is a line position in an organization. Okay, so to define human resource management, it is the effective use of an organization's human resources to improve its performance. The strategic and coherent approach to the management of an organization's most valued asset, the people. And lastly, it's the productive use of people in achieving the organization's strategic business objectives and the satisfaction of the individual. So a company may have the best strategies and business plans, values, and work processes, but these are useless if the company does not have the right people to implement them. The responsibilities of a human resource management fall into 3 major areas: staffing, employee compensation and benefits, and designing or defining the work. Essentially, the purpose of HRM is to maximize the productivity of an organization by optimizing the effectiveness of its employees. So, gaano ka-important ang role ng HR department sa organization? Very much relevant, guys. Remember that human resources serve as a fuel for the organization to run. Without HR, sino ang magtatrabaho inside? Without HR department, who will manage the crucial function of staffing, wherein you'll have to put the right person in the right job? How about compensation administration, labor relations, and other important functions na ginagawa ng HR? That is why HR department actually really is the heart of the organization. Okay, so for the origin and development of HR, there's a lot to discuss about it. And I know that you're familiar with this since this was already discussed before in your first year or second year. And ano na lang, let us have a recap of the origin of human resource management. So, the modern history of HR, as we know, started with the British Industrial Revolution, and the foundation of large factories increased a demand for the workforce significantly. So, it was in the 17th century, and it is the moment when the evolution of new people management practices begins. So, it is the important landmark in the history of human resources. The rapid development of new industrial approaches and new inventions to work changed the world dramatically. The quick and cheap production became a priority for many industries. The factories hired thousands of workers who worked up to 16 hours a day, and soon many entrepreneurs discovered the fact that the satisfaction of employees influences the performance and productivity. Satisfied employees were more efficient than the rest of the workforce, and they can produce more products than depressed employees. So as a result, many factories started to introduce voluntary programs for employees to increase their comfort and satisfaction. And moreover, the government began to intervene to introduce some fundamental human rights in the work safety legislation. So the second rapid development of HR started at the beginning of the 20th century, and most organizations launched the personal management, more on personnel management. Also, you can find this in several books and in the internet, no, about this personnel department. And the personnel department had large responsibilities. However, it was still a service department. It was dealing with all employee related issues, and it was responsible for the full compliance with the newly introduced law requirements. So it had a responsibility for the implementation of different social and workplace safety programs. Everything was focused on the productivity of employees, and the regular productivity increments were the key measures of the management of employees. So, moreover, the trade unions evolved almost at the same moment as the personnel management. So, trade unions changed the rules of the game. So far, we are not sure about the positive impact of trade unions, and however, they played a significant role in improving the role of employees in the organization. So, pagpasok ng trade unions, that is the time na meron na talagang voice yung mga employees. They are being heard by the companies also. And the employer got a reliable partner to discuss with. So trade unions introduced many improvements at no significant costs for the business. And today, trade unions are not as strong as they were used to be, but organizations still benefit from a strong presence of trade unions in their factories. Okay? The introduction of the HR management has begun in 70s of the 20th century. New technologies allowed the growth of large multinational organizations. So that was the moment when the new wave of globalization has begun. The personnel departments turned into human resource departments, and they started to manage processes and procedures around the globalized workforce. So from that times, most HR functions are running complex HRIS solutions which make information about employees available anywhere, anytime to the HR professionals. So the second significant change in the history of the HR management was the introduction of the HR business partnering model. So it's more on the advanced HR management, HR roles and responsibilities in HR model. So the demand of the organizations changed dramatically as the economies of the wealthy Western countries shifted towards the services economies. So the role of HR has changed significantly because the leadership and development and succession planning became crucial processes, securing the future of the business. Also, the quality of provided HR services become the significant competitive advantage. And nowadays, managers and leaders have to think globally. They have to understand people's coming from completely different cultural backgrounds. They have to manage the global corporate culture. They have to find values that energize the employees around the globe. So, the future of HR is full of new challenges, and the globalization will continue. Even local business will hire new talents from other continents. And the shortage of skilled employees will push human resources to introduce global recruitment policies and practices, such as outsourcing. So, the international relocation of employees will become a standard HR services, and organizations become less country specific and they cannot identify themselves with one country. They lose their face, and human resources has to help to identify and introduce the new corporate culture. So, tablets and smartphones change the way we work, and they will bring a new wave of changes in the HR as well. Leaders and managers can access data about the origin anywhere, and HR big data will become the next big topic. So human resources collects many pieces of information about employees, and it has to connect its data with other departments. The commute working is quite a standard today, but it will become a norm, yung teleworking. The technology will connect employees as they would sit in the next cubicle. And on the other hand, it will create another pressure on the human resources. New assimilation procedures will be required, and the networking will be still important for the successful career. So the future of HR will be about new networking methods and processes, how to make commute employees know each other. So today, HR runs many processes which are crucial for the modern organization. We cannot believe that the successful business could exist without the recruitment and staffing, compensation and benefits, training and development, or the leadership development. However, the story of HR management has started in ancient China, and in the past, the companies and nation did not use many the HR value added processes. They used just procedure they needed to be successful. So the story of the modern HR started as evidence of all employees, and it dealt with issues and requests. So later, the negotiations with trade unions were added as a strategic relationship of the organization's business partner, and it makes the HR management history fascinating. So that's the origin and development of HR. So, to discuss the transition from personal to human resource management, the first personal management began at the National Cash Register Company or NCR, and NCR Company President John Peterson decided to improve the workers' relation by organizing a personal department to handle grievances, discharges, safety, and other employee issues. And in the 1980s, the concept of HRM began to permeate through the larger corporation. So presented in the same is the delineation between personnel management and human resource management. And different talaga ang practice. And in summary, personnel management more treated HR as an expense only, while the human resource management treated HR as an asset and capital of the organization. Okay, so let me end this discussion with a quote from Hassan Chorgari stating that the hardest challenge being HR is that sometimes you have to be the lawyer, the judge, and the hangman. So maraming nagsabi nga, dali raman ng HR, oy, so puro sila na theory. But I'll say that if you find it easy in the academe, wait until you become an HR practitioner. Ang hirap mag-manage ng human resources as there is no definite solution for a certain problem. Hindi to pareha ng ibang work nga if makabalanse or mabalanse ang account, then you are done. So working as an HR comprise complex tasks. So you even sometimes need to be a lawyer at some point. So ayaw lang ninyo ilang ang HR job, guys. So be proud of your course. Every company awaits you. So thank you and have a good day.